currently a senior manager at Pratham, where she supports early childhood education programs running across 15 states of India, manages external partnerships, and supports the implementation of a range of interventions for children aged 3 to 14 years in 8 states across India. So welcome, Dr. Banerjee. Welcome, Mihika. Thank you so much once again for agreeing to be with us today. Before I hand over, just a couple of quick housekeeping rules. This session is being recorded and will be posted on our website later. Please have your mic on mute for the duration of the session. If you would like to ask any questions to the speaker, please drop them in the chat box and the moderator will bring them up as a part of the discussion. And that's it. So thank you. Over to you, Mihika.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And it is a pleasure to be here. Happy Women's Day to everybody here today. And very warm welcome to you, Rukmini ma'am. I'm thrilled to be talking to you like this after so many years. So very happy to have you here. So to jump right in, ma'am, I think we'll just begin with a little bit about understanding your personal and professional journey. So if you could tell us a little bit about your earlier years, when you were a student studying economics to when you went to do your PhD in education and then back to India to Pratham, which back then was a very small organization. So how did all these kind of decisions come about? What were your motivations and what were some of your key influences along the way? I think we'd be really interested to hear about that.
It's a very dangerous thing to ask someone who is 60 about their past life. We can go on and on for the whole afternoon. But I'll start with the economics part. When in college days, I think some amount of learning happened in the classroom, but a lot more happened outside the classroom. And perhaps that is what education should all be about. So we did economics in the classroom, but I think that there was a very interesting outside that also influenced what we learned and how we learned and who came and who spoke to us and so on and so forth. I went to Delhi School of Economics. What is not written in my CV is that I'm a dropout actually from Delhi School of Economics. I never finished my MA. I found it really hard and tough. Because after the atmosphere of much smaller class sizes in BA, to go into sort of in Delhi School of Economics in that time, you had 200 people in the classroom. And if for those of you who are familiar with Delhi School, it was, you sat in a kind of almost like an auditorium. And there used to be a dhaba called Palm Beach. I don't know if it's still there because wo dhaba do palm ke beech mein tha, so it was called Palm Beach, where you could have somebody deliver tea into the classroom and go out and nobody would notice. So it was that kind of an atmosphere. I think there as well, again, what happens outside the classroom was sometimes more interesting and more important. But I think my real interest in all of this started well afterwards. I was doing my PhD at the University of Chicago, and there I was very aware of the fact that several things were happening at the time. One was that the university was very closely linked to the Chicago public school system. Secondly, at the time, University of Chicago's education department was part of a laboratory school that had been set up by the famous education philosopher John Dewey. So the laboratory school was actually part of it was in the same building. And I think that this was very different from any university or college that I had been to, where you were very closely connected to what was around you. A third thing that was happening at that time in the city was that they were having school council elections, where every school had a version of an SMC. And although being an Indian in America, I couldn't vote, but I could vote for my local school council elections. So I was also able to see firsthand how schools and communities actually interact. I also felt, as part of my own research, which was largely quantitative, that I'm missing out on field work. So I used to volunteer in a school about like a 15-minute walk from the university campus. And in those days, the university was in a neighborhood which was thought of as a rough neighborhood. So after the first time that I walked to the school, and all of this, Mihika, you will see the connections, that I used to volunteer in a school. So the first day I went to the school to volunteer, the principal was very nice to me, but he didn't know actually what to do with me because they hadn't had any volunteers. So he told me, why don't you come back on Thursday, hoping that I wouldn't come back, I think. But then when I came back on Thursday, he said to me very frankly, we've never had anybody come like this. So we'll have to think about what we can use you to. But I ended up being a volunteer for them 3 times a week at lunch during my lunchtime hours. And I learned a lot from that whole experience because it was a view that you didn't get from the university. It was, the school was in a very low income neighborhood with a lot of, problems that lower income neighborhoods faced in the US in those days. So I think all of this contributed to my interest in education because I started thinking about what would schools in India of this type be like. I hadn't had much interaction with school education before I went there. And so when I came back to India, I followed what I thought was a sensible path. Other people didn't think so. I came back to Bombay. And because of the connection between the Chicago public school system and the university, I went to the Bombay Municipal Corporation, to the research department, to say that here I am and can you use me in any way? And it turned out that the research department of the Bombay Municipal Schools was one person. She was very nervous as to why she felt quite threatened. And she told me कि आप जैसे लोगों को दिल्ली चले जाना चाहिए. Bombay में ऐसे लोगों की कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है. So luckily, Pratham had just been formed at that time, and somebody told me, if you want to work with municipal schools, why don't you get in touch with them? So here I am.
And that's only where it all began, ma'am. And it just, it's very fascinating to hear about your journey from studying economics to being an educationist. And because that's where the journey began, I think my next question is that you've played so many roles within Pratham. 25 years is a very long time. And right from designing programs across multiple states to being to designing the ASAR survey, which is one of the most reliable estimates of education data in this country, and to now leading Pratham as CEO. Across these different stages and phases, did you ever feel like there were any challenges or experiences because you were a female practitioner, female researcher, and a female leader? And is there anything you could share with us around that and what some of that might be?
So I don't know about challenges of being a female. There were lots of challenges. And I think in the early days, I have such clear memories of my Pratham colleagues, in particular 2 people, one of whom, Mihika, you know well, Suvarna Fattare. She used to be at the time, one of our leading trainers for early childhood. And I learned a lot from her. And there was somebody called Pratima Bandekar, who unfortunately no longer is with us. But she used to constantly tell me, and I don't remember exactly what she said in Marathi, but I'll translate in Hindi. She used to constantly say कि तुम इतने पढ़े लिखे अपने आप को मानते हो, but तुमको कुछ नहीं आता है. Because she said, we have to teach you so many things. कि slums में लोग रहते कैसे हैं, what are the issues that women face. So I think I had very good teachers who in a very accelerated way in my first few years in Bombay taught me many things. And I think one of the things was that I felt that to really understand what is the real problems that schools face and children face, maybe it was because of my training, and maybe it was because people like Suvarna and Pratima pushed me. They said कि पता तो करो कि बच्चों को आता क्या है. Already enrollment levels in Bombay were quite high. And so we did a small study, and we did it on maths. I knew a little bit of Marathi, but not good enough to actually do a whole study. So this was a small study for 3rd and 4th standard children in about 20 schools in Andheri East. And the schools in Bombay, even at that time, compared to what I was used to, looked fine. There were teachers, there were lots of children. But what we found out is that there was a lot of children had difficulty in very basic arithmetic. And so I remember that we put this, the findings on one piece of paper, and I brought it to our office and we were discussing it. And, I had done a PhD for 5 years and done many things, but this one piece of paper then was taken by Madhav or by Farida, I forget who, one of the 2 founders of Pratham, to the municipal corporation. And within a week, a program was launched for all of Bombay, based partly on that study, called Shatak Jhep, which was how quickly can you help children to move up to 100. So the beginnings of the Asar report and the Asar process was in this very simple assessment that was done in these Bombay schools. And we were very lucky to see how quickly the municipal corporation acted on taking these results and wanting some action. So I think many of the habits of moving from assessment to action or using assessment to think about the problem were all had their early roots in some of these kinds of things. As far as being a woman is concerned, I think I learned very quickly. I had not been in Bombay at all before I moved there. That you must go in the women's compartment because that's a lot nicer than going in the general compartment on the local train and so on. But I think that really, I think in fact it was a benefit to be a woman because you got much more easily accepted by children's families. Most of the school teachers at the time in the municipal schools were women, so it was easier to relate to them. So I think it was an advantage, frankly, to have been a woman than if I had been not a woman.
And ma'am, when you talk about Suvarna, who you said, I think the fact that they started off so long back and today so many of them are leading states as large as Uttar Pradesh, etc., at Pratham, leading content teams, etc. I think that's also something that I think is quite interesting about what I've at least seen here at Pratham. But just shifting gears a little bit, ma'am. So having been at Pratham since then, when you started in Mumbai to now, 25 years, what do you feel have been some of the most remarkable or your favorite achievements in the education sector over these years? And what do you feel should be some of the key priorities that we should, as policymakers, as practitioners, be working towards, say, in the next decade? What would you have to say on that, ma'am?
So I would say that, at times, especially when people in the education sector feel कि, चीजें नहीं हो रही हैं, you have to remember कि बहुत सारी चीजें हुई हैं, which is why we have the luxury of feeling frustrated also. So the first thing which is very well known, of course, is that, enrollment levels are so high. Now, even in as early as 5 or 4, enrollment levels across the country were already 90% plus. But there were still some states, for example, my own home state is Bihar, where you still had large numbers of children who were out of school, particularly girls who were out of school. And I think that, when I look back, it not just that there was a big move to increase enrollment, and I'll speak a little bit in Hindi because maybe some people in the audience are will relate better. I remember जब Nitish Kumar was first elected as chief minister, उनके हर एक public speech पे लड़कियों की शिक्षा के बारे में वो बोलते थे. And to me, it was a very interesting thing कि एक जगह पे ऊपर से बोला जा रहा है, हवा में बोला जा रहा है, not हवा में, मतलब, but I'm saying in a public place ये बोला जा रहा है, but उसके साथ साथ you could actually see policies on the ground जो उसको link करता है. In education, we are aware that enrollment levels were high, but I think there are many other things which are not as well documented. And again, going back to Bihar, if you look at the period between 2005 and 2010, I think it was the fastest period of ensuring universal enrollment that perhaps has been seen anywhere. And it was a combination of strategies for children as well as for the enabling the environment. So, for example, starting with the well-known cycle distribution for girls who had finished 8th to encourage them to go to 9th. I think it was not just an educational intervention, but it was a female empowerment, and abhi bhi सड़कों पे जब सुबह you see कि बहुत सारी लड़कियां साइकिल पे स्कूल जा रही है, I think anybody anywhere feels a great sense of pride. But along with that, there was reservation in the panchayat for women. There was a big adult female literacy campaign called Aksharanchal. There were residential programs to bring out of school children into school, separate for girls, separate for boys. I think all of this in a very short period of time showed that if there is very focused strategies, तो फिर उसका नतीजा भी जमीन पे काफी अच्छा होता है. So the reason I bring all this up is to say that we have, as a country, done some very major things, like bringing almost every child to school. If I put aside this last 1 year of the pandemic, I think that we can use similar lessons and learnings to see how we can take it from every child in school to every child learning well, because it's the same systems that have delivered some of these things. So on the enrollment side, just one last thing, especially on a day like today, if in India, every age group is about 25 million. So if you looked at enrollment in 8th standard in, let's say 2007 or 8, the enrollment in 8th standard across the country was something like 12 million. And uska agar girl boy, mixture dekha jaye, so, I'm sure it was dominated by boys. But by the time you come to 2017 or 18, I forget exactly which year the last numbers are from, enrollment is close to 22 million. Which means that almost anybody who's entering school today lasts for 8 years. And I think these are very big moves which have to be leveraged. Again, going back to Bihar, if I look at the Bihar ka enrollment levels in standard 8, I wish uska slide mere samne hota, because boys and girls ke alag-alag rang hain. They were quite low, and boys ka bar was higher than girls. And by the time you come to 2018, दोनों बहुत हाई लेवल पे चले गए हैं, and actually लड़कियों का bar is slightly higher than boys. So not only did the enrollment really increase, but the boy-girl difference completely decreased. If anything, अब वो थोड़ा सा उल्टा हो गया. So these are major accomplishments. We have a long way to go in terms of ensuring good quality learning. But I feel like if you look at क्या क्या किया गया है, तो I think उसके बलबूते पे और बहुत सारी चीजें की जा सकती हैं.
Absolutely, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. And again, just talking a little bit about the past 1 year, like you mentioned, the past 1 year has been very different, I think, for everybody, including everyone at Pratham, in terms of how we delivered programs, what actually happened on the field, with schools closed, with disproportionate access to any kind of digital technology, digital devices, as well as the overall stress levels in the households, in families and communities, given the overall stress. What would you say have been some of your biggest takeaways from the past 1 year, in terms of remote learning, in terms of building connections directly with household, with parents, supporting teachers? What would you say are a few things that we should all take note of and be cognizant of as we move ahead as well, as we make a gradual recovery to a normal?
So, that this period has been very difficult is, of course, wo zahir hai, so I don't think we need to, dwell on that. But I think what are the learnings from this time? A couple of things I think very strongly, hame pehle bhi pata tha, but I think they've been reinforced. In our own work in Pratham, we work both inside the school or the Anganwadi and always in the community. We've always done it, and hame lagta tha ki ye zaruri hai. But I think ye mahamari ke time mein we really understood कि you must have a foot both inside and outside. मेरे अपने life में, as I said, I think I often have learned more from outside than from inside. But I think it is important कि किसी भी बच्चे के education के लिए you need a strong home and a strong school, and potentially a strong playground and a strong community also. I think you need to be surrounded by these things. So the importance of community, anywhere where we had prior community connections, it was much easier to stay in touch. I think education and learning are big words, but I think during this last 1 year, staying in touch, being able to find out ki log kya kar rahe hain, kya soch rahe hain, having a two-way communication, I think has all been very important. Now, whether you call it remote or digital, I think those are additional things. But the fact that we have all learned how to connect with each other dur se, I think is an important thing, because I think those are things which will last longer beyond the pandemic. Second is, I think who all have been involved is also important. Parents hamesha involved rehte the, family members involved rehte the, but I think the fact that everybody, regardless of economic level, has had to be more engaged in bachcho ke saath kya kare. And usme in some cases technology hai, and in some cases technology nahi hai. I think one of the smartest things that governments did was to distribute textbooks. बिकॉज टेक्स्ट बुक ऐसी चीज है दैट इवन अनपढ़ लोगों को पता है कि इसके साथ बच्चे पढ़ाई कर सकते हैं. And so, I think we have also gone back to more familiar things, more old-fashioned things, more low technology things, because हर एक के पास smartphone नहीं है. But 90% of India has some kind of a old, a basic phone. Basic phone पे SMS पे क्या कर सकते हैं? SMS पे अगर कुछ message भेजना है, then how do you maximize कि 160 characters में what can you do? So I think these are all things that there was nobody stopping us from having learned these before. But because we were forced to do it, sometimes learning has to be forced. As a kid, sometimes parents say कि ये किताब पढ़ो. At that time you hate it. But बाद में लगता है कि अच्छा हुआ कि किसी ने मुझे force किया था वो किताब पढ़ने के लिए. So I think that this connection, having a foot in the home and in the community, involving parents, we are well known. हमारी जो method है उसको हिंदी में our teaching method is called Kamal. In English, it's called teaching at the right level. But I think that what we learned during this pandemic is reaching at the right level. कि अगर आप किसी को उनके level पे जाकर बातचीत कर सकते हो, you get a lot back in return, and they then are able to move on the journey with you. So these two-way phone calls, कि हर बच्चे के घर में हम लोग we phoned once a week or once in 10 days, and वहाँ पे अगर लोगों ने सुनने का कष्ट किया, then you got a lot of very important feedback about what parents were saying. So I think these are learnings and lessons जो पहले हो सकती थी, but हमने किया नहीं था. And today I think that because of the compulsion, the openness of school systems, of schools, of everyone to say कि एक दूसरे की मदद की जरूरत है, I think that's a big one. So a lot of people talk about technology and remote and whatever digital. मुझे लगता है कि this whole 1 year has reinforced people's faith in each other to say कि as human beings, this was the time that you needed to help each other in whatever way you could. And of course, technology can help. But I think अपने आप के ऊपर भी भरोसा करो is the message.
Absolutely, ma'am. And taking ahead from what you said, reaching at the right level, there's a follow-up question that we got from the audience, which is that as is true of any crisis, even in this pandemic, it is women and it is girls that would have been more severely impacted as a result of multiple factors in the household, women not being able to work, drop out of the workforce, and even what is happening in the household with other family members, etc. Ma'am, what would you say, how should we deal with this kind of a post-pandemic problem statement that we have in terms of either bringing children, bringing girls back to school, or even more generally? How are you and how is Pratham thinking about working with girls with a gender lens? And how do you think policymakers more broadly should be thinking about this?
So I think that at every level, there is things that can be done. So starting from absolutely the community or the village level, I think if I start at the older age group, the bars and the graphs that I was talking about, I think ये हर एक की जिम्मेवारी होती है कि वो बार घटे ना. If we have worked so hard to ensure that almost all girls are reaching up to 8th, then as soon as schools open, we must make sure that not only girls but boys, everyone comes back to school. And uske liye just saying enrollment, just saying school khul gaya is not enough. मुझे लगता है कि what we have seen during the pandemic, what we have seen during even हमारा जो असर का report है, says that siblings and others have been very involved in helping children. I think we must give an important role to the older children in the school. ऐसा रोल देने की जरूरत है कि उनके ऊपर जिम्मेवारी है कि छोटे बच्चे स्कूल पे आए. I worry a little bit about जो लड़कियां particularly, इसी जब वो आप 9th तक पहुंच जाते हो तो family will make sure कि आप 10th कर लो, because अगर उतनी दूर तक आए हो then 10th should be done. But if you are in 7th and you are not very good in academics and घर के हालात में मजबूरियां हैं, the chances to say कि तुम जरा घर में हाथ बटा दो is very high. So I think it is important that not only the older girls के ऊपर ध्यान रखा जाए, we give them important roles in school, whether वो assembly के time हो, whether it is to organize children, whether it is to in fact look at every day's attendance and जो बच्चे नहीं आ रहे उनके घर में जाके उनको बुलाना. I think they need to be given a responsible role, जिसके वजह से उनके स्कूल में मौजूद रहना बहुत जरूरी चीज है for the school. because I think when you give responsibility, people react very well. So that is, I would say, at the upper end. At the lower end, जब कम उम्र के बच्चे हैं, I mean, very strangely this year, children will go into second standard जो कभी school नहीं गए हैं, जो शायद कभी आंगनवाड़ी भी नहीं गए हैं. So you're going straight घर से दादी के गोदी से into second standard. Okay, ये पहले अभी बहुत सालों में हुआ नहीं है. Similarly, first standard के बच्चे भी they are going straight. So in a way, this whole cohort of young children in the junior grades, उनके ऊपर एक नई एजुकेशन पॉलिसी की अपेक्षाएं भी हैं कि बाय थर्ड स्टैंडर्ड इनको सबको ना फाउंडेशनल लिटरेसी न्यूमरेसी आ जाएगा. बट आई थिंक दिस इज द मोमेंट वेयर यू वांट टू एनकरेज मदर्स, द यंग मदर्स, पीपल इन द कम्युनिटी टू से कि इन बच्चों की फाउंडेशन को मजबूत करने के लिए वी नीड टू वर्क हार्ड. सो हाउ एंड एट अ यंग एज इट्स पॉसिबल टू गेट लॉट ऑफ इन्वॉल्वमेंट बिकॉज उनको जो सिखाना है ऑलमोस्ट एनीबडी कैन पार्टिसिपेट इन दैट. Algebra पढ़ाने के लिए तो हम I also can't teach algebra because I've been working in primary education for too long. But so I feel that one is give responsibility to the older children, and second is involve mothers, involve other people in the community, help the teachers, help the Anganwadi workers to really take this younger age group and say कि इनको तो हम सही ढंग से स्कूल में स्कूल के लिए तैयार कर ही लेंगे, and उसमें acknowledge that we need the help of everyone. So I think these are the kinds of things, practical things, जो की जा सकती हैं. And इस तरह की practical things, if 7वीं 8वीं की लड़कियां and 1 and 2 के बच्चे सबको लेकर करें, तो बीच वालों को भी तो फायदा हो ही जाएगा.
बिल्कुल. And on a related note, we've just got a question from the audience saying that the theme for International Women's Day is choose to challenge. What, if any, current gender norms do you think it is crucial for us to choose to challenge?
I think that the answer to this is pick your challenge, because gender के बहुत challenges हैं. And I think choose to challenge means pick your challenge and not only pick it, take the challenge to the final solution. So जो मैं कह रही हूँ, but 8वीं के बच्चियाँ, let us say that in the area in which we work, how can we ensure not only कि सारी 7वीं और 8वीं की लड़कियाँ वापस आएं, but they are able to actually move into 9th better prepared than before. Because the more we invest in these young women, the more the future for the next generation will be strong. So whether it is ki, I mean, there are many things that we can do in that age group, but I would say pick up बड़े लड़कियों के साथ काम करेंगे, pick up young mothers के साथ काम करेंगे. Now that I am a grandmother, I believe that grandmothers are the biggest agents of change. आप गांव के नानियों के साथ काम करेंगे. Pick your challenge and stick with them.
Yes, that's lovely, ma'am. And so we're kind of now shifting gears again, and we're maybe going to get you a little reflective. So it's a two-part question. One is that if you had to give yourself, the 20-year-old Rukmini Banerjee, some advice, what would that be? And the second part is today this whole group comprises people who are either studying economics or are young public policy professionals. What would you say, what would be your piece of advice to them? And if you could share a little bit about how do you think the sector is adapting to be more responsive to young people entering education, entering other sectors in the development space? What would be your take on that?
So, I mean, it's hard to think of what advice to give because बहुत सारे लोग are from maybe different. But I would say that as a young professional, get as much field experience as you can. बहुत सारे लोग I find want these days. Somebody asked me the other day, what do you want to do? And she said, policy research. I said, what is that? So I don't know what is policy research, because I think get your hands dirty in practice first. And वो practice से फिर what are the things that work, वो समझना ज़रूरी है. When you're older, when you have more responsibilities of whichever type, it's difficult. But I would say that every minute spent in the field, spent in trying to choose to challenge, take this seriously. What are you going to challenge? How are you going to learn about it? How will you choose your challenge and how will you follow through with your challenge? And how will you really stay closely connected to practice? अक्सर लोग कहते हैं कि रिसर्च होगा, फिर रिसर्च से पॉलिसी बदलेगी, फिर पॉलिसी से प्रैक्टिस बदलेगा. I don't buy all that. I feel कि when practice changes, the world changes. and then maybe policy happens. You know, stay fixed, stay focused. And to the extent I was very lucky because mere apne growth mein, the Suvarnas and the Pratimas were available, find them, because there are always people around you. The point that I made ki ye pandemic ke time mein, it was a time of huge learning, and hamari huge learning hui from listening to what people were saying at the other end of the phone. So there is always people to learn from, and you know, make use of that, because these are the formative years which give you the sense of for example, one of my favorite people, again, I don't know why I'm bringing up a lot of Bihar examples, जो बिहार के education secretary थे और बाद में जाके he became even more senior. His name is Anjani Kumar Singh, Anjani Babu. Anjani Babu, even after such a long and illustrious career, still talks about his early days when he was a collector in a district. Because he says कि वहाँ की महिलाओं ने adult literacy campaign में उनको जो lessons सिखाए, वो lessons उनको अभी भी फायदे के हैं. So I think early formative positive experiences shape a person, and they make you feel that you know, what all is possible to do. So stay to the ground, stick to the ground, challenge yourself, find your own teachers, and you'll be fine. Get out of Delhi.
Yes, absolutely, ma'am. And one popular question that I've been asked to ask you is that what are, because this is a group that is a very intellectual group, what are some book recommendations that you would have for people, either that you've read earlier or that you've been reading right now? That would be really interesting to know. What would you recommend that people here give a read?
No, you can't recommend. People have to find books of their own choosing. I feel like you know, I feel often that academics don't make it easy for people to read their books. So I think that that is a whole big challenge, because very often, so for example, if you look at the poor economics, I mean, poor economics is written in a way that encourages more people to join the discipline, as opposed to, let's say, a lot of, you know, basic economic writing, which is really for a very inner club. So I really like books that are obviously easy to read. Again, as an example, there is a journal called The American Educator, which is a very interesting one, because it is run by one of the biggest teachers unions of the US. And unki ye soch hai, as part of the union, because you are kya kehte hain, teachers unions often will agitate for better working conditions for teachers. But ये लोग believe करते हैं कि teacher के professional development के लिए उनको current research in education के बारे में भी जानकारी होनी चाहिए. So the journal, firstly, it's available to anyone. आप भी जाके देख सकते हो. Secondly, articles are written by top people in the field, but ऐसे तरीके से लिखा जाता है कि कोई भी उसको पढ़ सकता है. So for a while, प्रथम में हम लोग इन articles को लेके इनको हिंदी में translate कर रहे थे, because I really felt that whatever is the current research, उसके बारे में, so I know you have a lot of researchers, so think about everything that you're reading, how many of these things are, you know, readable by ordinary people, and how many need an interpreter to read them. So as you can see, I like reading things that are readable. That's the writer has made it possible to include you in the you know, in the discourse.
Absolutely, ma'am. And I would recommend some of your stories that everybody goes reads. They're made for children, but they're very interesting to read even now. So that would be something I'd add. We'll just move.
There is just one book. I haven't yet read it, but I want to read it. It's about the history of pandemics or epidemics in the period of, say, I don't know exactly the time period, but from, say, 1820 to 1930 or something like this. Because at this point, जब हम लोग pandemic में हैं, so we can see how completely हमारी lives को इसने take over किया है. And I'm sure 20 years from today, इसका जिक्र बहुत किया जाएगा, both in novels or in academic writing and so on. But the point that this book is trying to make is कि पुराने pandemics का असर बहुत सारी चीजों पे अब नहीं दिखता है. And why is that? It could be the world was a different place. अभी social media है, बहुत कुछ और चीजें हैं. अभी चीजों को capture करना भी आसान है शायद, तब नहीं था. But there have been, like the flu epidemic that happened in the early part of the 20th century, killed many, many people. But उसका जिक्र कैसे, common क्या कहते हैं, narratives में नहीं दिखता है, and क्यों? So there's a very interesting book written by a very young researcher called Chinmay Tumbe. I haven't bought it yet, but मुझे लगता है कि इसको पढ़ने की जरूरत है, ताकि 20 साल बाद, 50 साल बाद हम इस पीरियड को कैसे देखें, उसकी भी थोड़ी सी हमको जानकारी मिलेगी.
Thank you very much for that, ma'am. I'm just looking at some of the live the questions that are coming up on live chat over here, and there are a couple of very interesting ones. So one says that what is Dr. Banerjee's recommendation to someone who wants to undertake the challenge of improving education in other low-performing countries in the world? How would you do Pratham somewhere else? That would be interesting to hear.
Hey, the thing is, do Pratham somewhere else is a very difficult thing, because at least India में जहाँ पे भी हम लोग फैले हैं, somebody wanted to do something there and found us. So I think the first thing is, who is the champion, who wants the change? And in our history of so many years, for example, the work that was started in Delhi, it has a history to it. And it's just a small story, but I must tell you that there was a Madhav Chavan, who's one of the founders of Pratham, was in a meeting, and उनके बगल में कोई बैठे हुए थे who wanted to talk to him during the meeting. And at that stage, Madhav used to smoke. तो वो हर आधे घंटे में बाहर जाते थे smoke करने के लिए. So when he went to smoke, this gentleman went with him. He was already, in his 60s, this gentleman. And he asked Madhav कि ये जो आप बोल रहे हो बॉम्बे में हो रहा है, इसको अगर दिल्ली में करना हो तो how can it be done? And so Madhav said, well, somebody has to want to do it. So this gentleman said, what if that person is me? And he was a retired foreign service officer. He had been ambassador of India to Cuba and to Indonesia. And he said, मुझे कुछ करना है. Now, once he said, मुझे कुछ करना है, वो तो कुछ करेंगे ही, जरूर करेंगे, और वो अपना रास्ता निकाल ही लेंगे. Similarly, we had once a boy who came to us who had just finished from IIT Powai in Bombay. So IIT में पढ़ा हुआ लड़का, engineer. They met somebody in a dhaba, met somebody from Pratham in a dhaba, and decided कि मुझे, and he turns out was from Patna, मुझे पटना के लिए कुछ करना है. So he was sent to me, and I thought ये IIT का लड़का है तो भाग जाएगा. उसको तो अच्छी नौकरी अमेरिका में और somewhere else मिल जाएगी. Why would he want to work? So deliberately, I was in Bombay at that time. I put him in the worst area in Bombay कि तुम वहां पे जाके 6 महीना काम करो. And वो टिक गया. 6 महीने के बाद he said कि आप बताओ, 6 महीना हो गया है. So we sent him off to Patna with some amount of money to say, जाके देखो क्या करना है, अब तुम्ही को समझ में आएगा. And वहां से खड़े होके today Pratham has such a big presence in Bihar. But it started with one person who said कि मुझे कुछ करना है. So whoever is asking this question, वो अपना रास्ता ढूंढ लेगा. They don't need to get any advice. I think Ichha is the first thing. Choose to challenge. You've chosen your challenge. Now you will be fine.
And because you mentioned that we need these leaders of change wherever we are, a related question that has just come up in the live chat is, Pratham has always focused on evidence, and we have invested a lot in RCTs and ensuring that our programs have that evidence based and are informed by data. How does this translate when communicating to policymakers? How do we make policymakers see the importance of evidence and kind of take that into their conversation when designing programs or policies? What would be your experience there?
So the assumption behind this question is that policy badlegi, fir dunya badlega, right? So you have to first question whether that is the case, or whether enough cheeze ground pe badal jati hain and tab jaake policy badlega. Because it really depends on what your theory of change is. Now, evidence, a lot of times, the evidence that at least we are creating is for us. उसको देख के किसी और का मन बदलेगा तो अच्छी बात है, but हमको क्या सीखने को मिलता है? And why evidence and why I would say data has been very important for Pratham right from the beginning is कि दुनिया में needs बहुत हैं. There are many needs. Any community you go to, in almost anywhere, there is a lot of needs. There is a lot of desire कि हम needs को solve करें, right? But we also have limited capabilities, whether as individuals or as organizations. कि हमको करना तो है something, but मेरी capability इतने की ही है. So how do you figure out that between the need and the desire and the capability, right mix कौन सा है? What, while needs in the world may be very big, but मैं क्या कर सकती हूँ based on जो मेरे resources हैं, जो मेरी capabilities हैं, जो मेरी opportunities हैं. And to me, the only way to figure it out is by looking at what impact you're having. And how, one is what impact are you having today? Second is उस impact को और बढ़ाने के लिए क्या करना पड़ेगा? So, you know, in 2002, just to teach the children basically how to read used to take us 1 year. Then करते 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 3 महीना हुआ. फिर करते 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 हमको 10 साल लगे to say कि कोई भी प्रथम का बंदा today can take a child 3rd, 4th, 5th का, not babies, 3rd, 4th, 5th के बच्चे को लेकर teaching them basic reading and basic arithmetic is 30 days. But to go from 1 year to 30 days took a lot of hard work. अक्सर लोग बोलते हैं कि वही आप कर रहे हो जो अपने 20 साल पहले करते थे. Yes, but impact is much quicker, cheaper, and now we can tell anybody how to do it. So one is, what is the thing that you can do? Second is, how can you do it best possible with the least amount of money? And third is, जो भी आप सीखे, whatever you have learned how to do, औरों को आप कैसे सिखा सकते हो. So to me, the evidence is a key part of all of this. अब मैं policy maker को कैसे समझाऊं वो तो अभी तक मुझे भी समझ में नहीं आया. Because वो data से लोगों का मन नहीं बदलता है. I think first hand experience से अक्सर बदलता है. And I remember being very irritated in a government meeting एक बार जब हम ये सब बोल रहे थे, and you could see कि लोगों को ये पट नहीं रहा था. So I was getting very irritated. और मेरे किसी younger साथी ने मुझे कहा कि वो नहीं समझ पाएंगे क्योंकि उनको वो problem का feel नहीं होता है. जब आप problem को feel करते हो, तब मजबूरी आती है कि इसके बारे में कुछ करें. So the entire असर exercise partly is कि anywhere anybody who is doing असर को feel हो कि अरे, and वो feel होता ही है कि क्यों एक बच्चा वो 5वीं में पढ़ रहा है उसको पढ़ना नहीं आया, ये कोई इतनी बड़ी बात तो है नहीं. तो जब वो फील होता है देन एक रास्ता निकलता है कि उसको पढ़ा दिया जाए. बट व्हेन यू आर सिटिंग वेरी फार अवे एंड यू आर ओनली फॉर्मुलेटिंग पॉलिसी, अक्सर ये फील होना बड़ा मुश्किल है.
Absolutely, ma'am. And ma'am, there are some questions that just want to know a little bit about your PhD.
No, one second. I want to add something to the previous question.
Yeah.
Now, for example, after these last 9 months, there is so much talk about online education and about remote learning and about synchronous and whatever else. But 80% of India's children have not had any of this. But क्यों इसकी बातचीत हो रही है? Because जो पेपर में लिखने वाले लोग हैं, जो पॉलिसी बनाने लोग हैं, उनके बच्चों के लिए ये सब हुआ है. इसीलिए it's a hot topic for discussion. But when I say, for example, as I say often to different people, कि SMS के द्वारा कितनी, what is the little packet of activity that I can send in an SMS? Many people like this look very blank because उनके लिए उनके बच्चे तो स्क्रीन खोल के बैठे हैं 6-6 घंटे, तो they are now worried about मेरे बच्चों के आंखें खराब हो रही हैं. वो एक SMS से इंडिया के बच्चों की आंखें कुछ खराब नहीं होने वाली हैं. So I think that the problem that you feel, and everybody feels a problem, the problem that the people who are writing for policy things feel is the problem that they are seeing. But I think it is up to people like us, whether on the research side or on the intervention side, क्योंकि जो problems दिखाई दुनिया को नहीं दे रही है, उनको कैसे दिखाया जाए. And again, I'm just connecting it to Asar to say that I think the fact that across the country, 25-30,000 people every year, हर जिले में जाके कुछ करके आ रहे हैं, कहीं ना कहीं उसका इफेक्ट बढ़ते बढ़ते अभी हमारी न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी में वो आ गया है. So I'm not saying that Asar has created the goal of the new education policy, but certainly contribution of a lot of first-hand experience and data, but the first-hand experience of ये मुझे problem feel हुआ तो इसको तो कहीं ना कहीं पे anchor करना ही है. Sorry, now you can go back to the.
No, ma'am, that's all very interesting. And I think somewhere how even in the government partnerships, how the supervisors that are engaged, having them directly go onto the field, do practice classes, spend that time with children directly, so that when they give feedback to their teachers, they are coming from a place where they understand the problem better. So I see
Correct.
that
Yeah.
resonating there. Ma'am, so there's one question where somebody wants to know more about your PhD experience, and especially in today's context, how important is it getting a PhD for a woman in policy today? This person is considering going for an MPP and is a little on the fence about PhD. So what would be kind of a little bit about your experience, and what would you say to people considering to do that today?
Hey, I think if you have a very academic क्या कहते हैं trajectory in mind कि मुझे इसके बाद professor बनना है and पढ़ाना है and so on, then the job market requires a PhD. It is a part of your qualification if you're going to teach at a well-known university. Policy, as I said, the more people who are going into policy not having done enough work on the ground, then वो policy भी वैसी ही रह जाती है. So, if you're going to do a PhD because you really intend to be in the world of academics for the rest of your life, I think you have to do it, because that is the currency that gets you, into that professional path. But the other reason also is कि when you go to university, partly it is कि जो class के अंदर जो course के अंदर हो रहा है. But I think that university gives you, and depending on the kind of university, gives you a exposure to many other points of view, to many other types of thinking. So for that, I think going to university is a good thing. But you don't have to spend 6 years to do a PhD, just for that. So I think you have to find, what are you learning on a regular basis? Kitabon se learning versus zameen se learning versus a combination of both. And today, with so much being available online, if you want to choose your challenge, then you can find what you want and create a course for yourself and find mentors online as well, and so on and so forth. So, सब कुछ छोड़ के जाके PhD करना may have become an outdated thing. I'm anti-PhD, as you can see.
That's very relevant advice, ma'am, and I'm sure all of us took note of that. That's all I have right now from the live chat. Prerna, thank you so much, ma'am, for being so patient and answering all our questions. And Prerna, over to you.
Hi, thank you so much, ma'am. That session was really amazing and inspiring, and it was so fun to hear all of your stories, and especially the stories behind Pratham. So I think, just as one of the formal vote of thanks, a big thank you to Dr. Banerjee for sharing her thoughts and experiences with us. We could not have asked for a more engaging session on Women's Day. I'd also like to thank Mihika for moderating this session so well and taking out time for us. We're extremely grateful to everyone who joined in, attended today's call, asked such great questions, and also sent us questions in advance before the session. And finally, I'd like to thank everyone who has engaged in econ and policy in the last 8 months. We look forward to continue to work with all of you to make econ and policy more inclusive, more diverse, and supporting fellow women. So that's it from me, and thank you so much for attending.
Thank you for inviting me. I really enjoyed the session.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Mihika. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Mihika. Thank you.
coming up.